Hello everyone, good morning. Today is Wednesday, June 25th, 2025. I'm going to be doing one of these first of the few road trip videos I'm going to be setting up for today. It's going to be a big trip right now. The first video we have right now, we're going to be traveling along the Queensboro Bridge to avoid something called congestion pricing. Yeah, there is a free way to get to Manhattan without getting into it, because we're not going into the central business district. So right now we're going to head on Northern Boulevard, New York State Route 25A. They added this bus lane probably about 2 years ago, and it's not really great traveling here on any time other than rush hour. So as you can see here, we're stopping here at a red light at 114th Street. And to move on, if you make a left turn, you can go into the Grand Central Parkway eastbound, heading towards eastern Long Island. So you'll see later that the green lights will be in synchronization, one after another. This is called a green wave. This is very favorable, especially during rush hour, because there's a huge amount of traffic of cars want to go to work. And a lot of jobs are in Manhattan, especially when a lot of people live in the suburbs, such as Queens. So right now, we are in Corona here at 112th Street. We'll be taking Northern Boulevard all the way towards the foot of the Queensboro Bridge. We can't be taking the lower level. We're going to be finding another way to go on the upper level to bypass the toll. So, and eventually we'll be able to see as we get closer, a great view of the Manhattan skyline just by taking the local streets. So as you see here, the green lights are going on in succession, so we're not really making full stops. And that car on the right should not be there because that is a bus lane and it's 24 hours. The bus that travels here right now is called the Q66. The MTA, the Metropolitan Transit Authority, in Queens is doing a bus redesign starting on Monday, June 29th, and it's going to add a new Q63 bus as I think it's a rush route, so meaning that's going to make limited stops to go a lot closer to Long Island City, to stop near the E, the M, the R train, as well as the N, W, and 7 trains around Queens Plaza or Queensboro Plaza, respectively. Speed limit here is 25 miles an hour. That's the normal speed limit along New York City streets, and traffic is moving pretty well here. So, let's talk about congestion pricing. This is a very controversial topic, and I got a lot to say about this. So, how does this work? Right now, it is 5:33 a.m. in the morning, so the peak prices start on weekdays from 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. And on weekends, Saturday and Sunday, is 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. If you have E-ZPass from New York or out of state, you would be charged $9 to enter the Central Business District. That is any part of Manhattan south of 60th Street, excluding the West Side Highway, New York State Route 9A, West Street, also known as that, or the FDR Drive, that's also excluded, as well as the Battery Tunnel Underpass. The Battery Park Underpass, my mistake. And if you don't have E-ZPass, you have to pay tolls by mail. There is no cash option because New York has done cashless tolling. That would cost 50% more, so that would be $13.50. So it is very important that if you want to travel in New York, definitely get that E-ZPass so you get the major discount. Overnight hours are the hours outside of the peak period. For E-ZPass, you would be paying $2.25, a 75% discount. And if you do tolls by mail with no E-ZPass, the cost would be $3.30. There's also tunnel crossing credits as well. When you cross over the Hudson, the Port Authority tunnels, being the Harlem and the Lincoln tunnels, you would get a $3 crossing credit, meaning that you would pay $3 less for the congestion fee. There is a discount with the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel, also known as the Hugh L. Carey Tunnel, as well as the Queens Midtown Tunnel carrying Interstate 495. That gives you a $1.50 crossing credit. And unfortunately, there is no crossing credit with the George Washington Bridge, sadly. So if you have to go into the Central Business District, you kind of have to go through the Lincoln Tunnel if you're coming from the north. And, you know, if you add up all the prices, as long as with the Port Authority crossings, could cost as much as $20 or $22.06 to possibly cross into Manhattan. And that's the cheapest rate with E-ZPass. If you don't have E-ZPass and it's out of state, not from New York or New Jersey, you got to pay the cash rate. So that would be $18.31. You know that Port Authority really wants to put that inflation adjustment when you got to put 31 cents in change. Yeah, that's why they don't do cashless tolling, and they have these really odd rates. That rate has been in effect since January 5th, 2025. So congestion pricing is a new thing that recently came into New York City. Plan was in effect in January 5th, 2025. So roughly it's existing for almost 6 months. There's also discounts that occur here. There's a low income discount plan. If you make less than $60,000 with gross tax, I think gross tax income adjustment, then you would get a tax credit as well. But also the low income discount plan exists if you drive more than 10 times. After the 10th time, starting the 11th time, the rate would be reduced by half. So yeah, you got to cross into Manhattan 10 times to get that discount. I'm not sure how worth it is. All right, so we're over here in 72nd Street. This is actually the area of Jackson Heights over here. And we're going to be approaching a highway overpass very soon. It's called the Brooklyn-Queens Expressway, Interstate 278, or also known as the BQE. Very congested road. And actually, if you head west, as you see here on the sign, you can head towards Brooklyn and Staten Island, and east towards LaGuardia Airport, or the RFK, also known as the Triborough Bridge. So this is our first red light over here, and should be smooth sailing. I think the bus lane extends for a little bit until Broadway, and then that's it. We're going to be free-flowing traffic from here. And as you can see, the skyline is going to be more visible from here. So there's also, going back to congestion pricing, there's also exemptions, such as a disability exemption if someone's driving an emergency vehicle, buses, or specialized government-owned vehicles. So those are vehicles that do special city services, excluding transporting people or goods. So that could be like your street cleaner, could be your snowplow, garbage truck, etc. They are all exempt from the plan. Now, I know that a lot of people say that congestion pricing is working because it's reducing traffic. Well, what do you expect? If it costs money to go in there, traffic's definitely going to go down. But the question is congestion pricing worth it for the cost? And keep in mind, the MTA is going to increase the prices. $9 is not going to be the only price. Starting in 2028, the price for the E-ZPass is going to go up to $12. And then 3 years after that, in 2031, it's going to increase to $15, the original rate. So it's not just going to be $9. You got to also, keep in mind that, adjustment for inflation, or, the MTA needs money. How they're going to use that to rely on these capital programs, and stuff like that, their projects. But I see that there are a lot of problems. First, let's begin with the study. The study that they conducted, they had an issue with a lot of ranges with prices, and I feel that they kind of bypassed this stuff. Oh, be careful here. It looks like the traffic light went out, so we got to be careful here. That's what the flashing lights mean. If you see that here in New York, that basically means you got to treat that as a stop sign. Okay, as this is the neighborhood of Woodside, and soon, once we cross into, I think, 48th Street, it's going to be more into Astoria. So here's 51st Street. Okay, so let's go back to the study. I feel that the study was not done correctly because MTA put an environmental impact study. They're bypassing the EPA study, and I don't like that. I feel that is doing some type of shortcut, or maybe they're hiding something. You know, they may claim that, oh, there's no difference in traffic and stuff like that. But I felt that the study was kind of rushed and they didn't do it correctly. Another thing is to consider that was very frustrating is that the toll rates were never in clear at the start of when it was proposed. I remember back in the early years that it was proposed that the toll can range from $8 to $23 with E-ZPass. Oh no, that scared a lot of people. And then it eventually changed to $15. And then after that, with all the backlash, price went down to $9. And people, you know, were so happy with the governor, Kathy Hochul, saying that, oh, the price, you know, went down. Good for her. Well, keep in mind, the price didn't exactly go down. Maybe it was probably in plan to form the story like this so that it looks good. But remember, it used to be free to go into Manhattan, but now it's not. And that's really unfortunate. So let's talk about the questionable decisions that's in the zone. The problem with the zone being at 60th Street and not like 59th Street or below that is that the bridge we're crossing is called the Koch Queensboro Bridge, also known as the 59th Street Bridge. When you cross into the bridge, cross into Manhattan, the bridge is located between 60th and 59th Street. And because the congestion cameras are below 60th Street, the lower level basically means that you are told, even if you are not planning to go visit the central business district to do any of your business, it is just terrible, because if you just entered the zone for just one block, you will be charged $9, which is just terrible and absolutely ridiculous. The other thing could be said if you enter the Queensboro Bridge from the north. The Upper East Side does not have the congestion zone. So, if you want to go into the Queensboro Bridge, you have to cross 60th Street, and then you get charged $9 or $2.25, depending on the time of day. And, you know, you just entered the zone for just one block, maybe there for less than a minute, and then you just go to Queens and just paid the toll. It makes absolutely no sense. I don't know why they did it like this. Absolutely a trap, honestly a money grab. What can you say? All right. So it leads to only one free route on the Queensboro Bridge and leads us to take the upper level. If you enter here from Northern Boulevard, the lower level is so much easier, but you would see eventually you have to get the upper level because it's free. Okay, start heading over to the right lane because we got to go into, last right before Manhattan on 41st Avenue. We have to go this way, and here you see congestion relief zone signs. Here's the toll, $9. Tolls higher by mail. Yeah, the lower roadway has the toll. So let's go take the upper deck. So if you want to go on the upper deck, you have to make a right turn here at 41st Avenue. Just some residual traffic here. So you put on the right signal. We're going to be turning right here. This is Queensboro Plaza right here. Looks like they converted into a park. So we're gonna turn right here. All right, don't follow, I'll follow this guy. I don't know why he had his right signal on. We're gonna make the left. This is actually newly developed. I think it's been gentrified right here. So yeah, we're basically on, this is Queens Plaza North. This is the service road. The subway tracks on the left, those are the elevated lines. The subway closer to us is the N and W trains carrying the Astoria line. And then the 7 train is on the other side And it's a stacked deck. So the lower level is heading towards Manhattan. The upper level is heading further into Queens. N&W goes towards Astoria Ditmars Boulevard, and the 7 on the other side head towards Flushing Main Street Station. So, yeah, it's a very interesting structure right here. All right, so we have some weird free routes. So you got to take the upper level because the upper level passes the, it enters Manhattan at 62nd Street, so you will not get charged. So this is the only way that how you can really bypass this if you're from Queens. Another route that you can enter Manhattan without going on it in the zone is by taking the Brooklyn Bridge. If you're coming from Brooklyn to only FDR Drive North. Yeah, for some reason, if you enter FDR Drive South, you have to enter Pearl Street, and because you enter a New York City street, you get charged $9 or $2.25. Absolutely ridiculous. So you are basically, if you only want to go for free, you have to go in the northbound direction. So if you're trying to go into like West Street or the West Side, if you want to go to you know, the west side of Manhattan from Brooklyn or Queens, there really is no best way to do it. The cheapest option you have is just to pay the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel, which costs $6.94. Okay, so see, upper deck, no toll, we got to go straight. So the left is basically the entrance to the lower roadway. So you get a good view of the bridge. I honestly like the upper deck. It honestly looks nice. You get to see more of the bridge. It is narrower, but you get a good view of it, and there's no trucks. Trucks are only allowed on the lower level. So if you're coming from FDR Drive northbound or southbound, you could enter Brooklyn for free, and that's by taking exit 2 on the FDR Drive for the Brooklyn Bridge. And actually, that is your only way to exit out of Manhattan for free. There's no free option to exit out of Manhattan into Queens. So Queens residents are basically trapped, because most likely you have, if you want a cheaper option, you either have to take one of the Bronx to Queens bridges. That includes the RFK Triborough, the Bronx Whitestone, or the Throgs Neck bridges. And you would be charged $6.94. Absolutely a money grab for the MTA, trying to fund their capital projects. Absolutely ridiculous. All right, so how is the traffic going, right? It's called congestion pricing for a reason. I don't think traffic has really improved. If you look into Queens, see backup on the LIE, the BQE. LIE stands for Long Island Expressway. Backup on those roads because you're not going into Manhattan. And the worst part probably is entering from New Jersey to go into Queens, because there really isn't a best option to go into Queens. Because one could say you have, you know, Staten Island, but the thing is that you have to go across you have to go do a Port Authority crossing, either the Goethals or the Outer Bridge crossing, but then you got to cross the Verrazano Bridge, which is another toll that you got to pay. So that adds up to $22. But it's not really that much better, you know, because there's still traffic on the Bell Parkway, the BQE if you're heading into Queens. So sometimes it's just better just to go into Manhattan, because you actually pay less. You pay only $22.06. That's the max you would pay, and it's still cheap. Because otherwise, if you go in Staten Island, you would pay $23. So there really is no better way to go into there, unfortunately, from southern New Jersey. So more people are funneled to go through the Holland Tunnel or the Lincoln Tunnel. And the problem is that the approaches, such as the Pulaski Skyway or the Newark Bay extension of the New Jersey Turnpike, always gets clogged and backed up. So, yeah, not good. Not good. Absolutely horrible. It takes, like, you know, we had to go into the city streets in New Jersey just to do this. Absolutely ridiculous. All right, we're entering the Queensboro Bridge. Here's a lovely view of the upper deck. It's 2 lanes in each direction and 2 lanes on the bottom on the lower level. We are technically on New York State Route 25, and we're going to head into the terminus, which is going to be at 2nd Avenue, although we're going to be heading towards an exit towards 62nd Street. You may be wondering why there's no traffic here. It's because these are the lanes on the left are for HOV reversible lanes. I think it's HOV 2 at least, to head into downtown. And because you're going to enter into 58th or 57th Street, you're going to be paying the congestion pricing toll of $9. So this is the only free viable option, and that's why you see a bunch of cars here, but at least you get a good view of it. Right now we're crossing an island called Roosevelt Island, and the Queensboro Bridge is also called the 59th Street Bridge. This bridge opened in 1909 and is actually a truss bridge, not a suspension bridge. Consists of 5 spans and has a length of about, I think it's a little less than a mile long. You know, less than 5,000 feet. Lovely view. So glad there's no traffic here. It's lovely. We're going to be taking this to go into 62nd Street to enter the FDR Drive and head towards the George Washington Bridge. So welcome to Manhattan for free. You see on top of there, you see the elevated, the wires over here. That is, okay, you can go in the right lane because we're going 1st Avenue, FDR Drive North. That over here, straight ahead, is the Roosevelt Island tram. You can see that in famous movies such as Spider-Man. Famous scenes. Okay. All right, take the center lane. We're gonna use that to make a right. And yeah, no congestion charge here. For free. So this is a turn lane. We can turn right here on 62nd Street, East 62nd Street. And we got this traffic here. So we can go straight into the FDR Drive. Yeah, it's unfortunate. Still traffic, so outside the zone. New Jersey just takes forever. And what about inside the zone? Well, that's a different story. Oh, this is an only left lane. See if we can, you know, go ahead into the, or go straight, I guess. All right, we gotta go straight. Okay, now we can head back into the center. All right, not as much traffic here. That's good. Okay, so we can stay this lane. We just crossed 1st Avenue. The next street here is York Avenue, and then we're gonna be taking the FDR Drive on the way up. I guess maybe I'm going to plan to split this into 2 videos, but hey, let's film the FDR Drive North. Why not? FDR Drive is a parkway considered, and it's only allowed passenger cars. So no trucks are allowed. So that's why you have only trucks allowed on the Manhattan streets. And usually the lights, they go on like these big avenues such as 1st or 2nd Avenue to go as the main arterial to go from uptown or downtown. So inside the zone, going back, is full of congestion, especially when we came back on June 7th, which is a Saturday in the afternoon. There's major traffic jam on Canal Street after exiting the Holland Tunnel. It was just horrible. We had to use Google Maps to make a circuitous route just to go across the Williamsburg Bridge. It took like 20 minutes. It was, you know, congestion pricing claiming to reduce congestion. I don't think it's reducing congestion anywhere. You know, the congestion is coming back. It's a rebound. More people just absorb the cost, I guess. I'm pretty sure people hate it because, you know, it's a cash grab for the MTA. Ridiculous. So, yeah, let's talk about another reason why people want to go into congestion pricing. The MTA needs money for their capital plans. Here's the issue I have with that claim. The problem is the MTA is inefficient with their monetary resources. Okay, you can go straight and accelerate because this is a single lane, there's no merge. So keep going. Here's Rockefeller University, and we're going to be under Cornell Hospital, Weill Cornell Medical Center, part of New York Presbyterian. Okay, so this is FDR Drive North. We're going to be taking this to exit 24 for the Interstate 95 for the George Washington Bridge. So you got to be careful here because the FDR Drive is full of all these weird turns, the geometry. I know that accidents can happen. That's why they post the speed limit of 40 miles an hour. So yeah, you got to be careful at your own risk. So be careful here, because I know that there's accidents here and people unfortunately pass away here. So the MTA is inefficient. A lot of their cost for their projects are pretty expensive because of soft costs. Soft cost basically means that it's the cost of doing stuff that's part of a project, but no work is being done. So, and the opposite is called a hard cost. The hard cost basically means that, for example, in the MTA, that expanding their subway system, they are basically adding rails to their network. So it's you know, the labor and the you know, adding rails, buying of the physical materials. You can head onto the center lane, yeah, if you're getting under a lot of pressure. All right, so we're under here. This is under Gracie Mansion. That's where the New York City mayor resides. So we're under the park. So that's why it looks like this. It looks really cool. Kind of look like a tunnel. So I think Gracie Mansion is probably around here. Yeah. So here we are in the tunnel. We're coming around the 90 streets. All right. Here, there's I-278, the RFK Bridge, right there for the Bruckner Expressway or the Grand Central Parkway, and it's a toll bridge. Yeah, the center lane is much safer. So let's head into it. Good job. Okay. So here's the exit for 96th Street. We're going really fast here. This is excellent. All right. The MTA has about 60 to 80% of their budget, unfortunately, for soft costs, usually with contractors. And that just balloons the cost to like billions of dollars. It's absolutely ridiculous. Why do other transit systems, they can build more on other cities such as Philadelphia or Washington, D.C., Baltimore, all right, Chicago. They have smaller budgets and they get more done. A lot of people are more satisfied that they did the upgrades with the signal system, the expansion. Can you believe that the 2nd Avenue subway just from 96th Street all the way to 125th Street is going to cost probably more than $7 billion? How can you believe this? It's absolutely insane. All right, the waterfront on the right is East River, and it's beautiful. This is a nice, beautiful walkway or park. You can technically bike around here. Yeah. So we're heading up north, yeah. Manhattan is heading towards, the direction is northeast, so that's why we see a little bit of the sun here. Sunrise occurred today at 5:25 a.m., so we're getting great views over here. Yeah, so the MTA should be more efficient with their resources. They got to do better. This is unacceptable. You know, why give them all the money, you know, and if they're just going to misuse it? They don't do well with their contractors, especially like for repairs such as accessibility upgrades with elevator upgrades. It's not good. Absolutely unhappy with this. We should not be giving them our money. That's why I'm honestly glad that President Donald Trump put a revocation of the, you know, the federal highway to approve this, because it's absolutely ridiculous. There is technically no free way to escape this, and everyone is trapped to do a charge. And, you know, the Federal Highway Act does the pays, you know, in taxes for the support the roads. All right, the left is the exit for the RFK Bridge. You can take exit 18 for the Willis Avenue Bridge. It's actually free. And you can go on Interstate 87 for the Deegan Expressway. The major Deegan Expressway parallels us for, now we're gonna enter the, ending the FDR Drive into the Harlem River Drive, HRD for short. So Harlem River Drive is actually very nice. And here you can see a structure on the left. That's a new on-ramp approach from the RFK Bridge into the FDR Drive North. And it's much faster, much better. Here we can see a lot of bridges. This is the 3rd Avenue Bridge, only heading into Manhattan. And it's a swing bridge. I remember last year that there was so much heat that I think the electrical system like burnt out or had an issue with it. and it wasn't successful, and it was stuck there for hours. This overpass here is the Metro North Rail, so that's I forgot what the name of this bridge is, but it carries all the Metro North trains from Grand Central into upstate New York and beyond, even into Connecticut. The next bridge approaching here is called the Madison Avenue Bridge, right here. Much quieter here along this road. It's the Madison Avenue Bridge, and then after that, we're going to see the 145th Street Bridge, connecting 145th Street on Manhattan with 149th Street in the Bronx. The apartments over there is part of the neighborhood of Washington Heights. Actually, Interstate 95, the Trans-Manhattan Expressway, actually goes under those buildings, so you'll get to see a cool view of this. This bridge over here is called the Macomb Dam Bridge. That connects with the Yankee Stadium on the right. Yeah, you're a Yankees fan. Here's your home stadium to go with the Bronx. Exit 23 is for 8th Avenue. It's not technically 8th Avenue here, it's called Frederick Douglass Boulevard. But you also get 155th Street. All right, and we're going to be taking the next exit, 95 South, US 1 South, the George Washington Bridge, Amsterdam Avenue, and West 179th Street, half a mile for the exit. So, going back to congestion pricing, I'm glad that President Trump does the revocation. You know, it's not an issue for us to pay for it, but it's more of a nuisance. I'm glad that I don't work in Manhattan, so and I take the subway. So I'm glad that, it doesn't even really affect me, but it's just making everything balloon in cost, every transportation cost. The plan is just ridiculous. Doesn't make any sense. You get charged once a day. So you can technically enter it overnight and then charge back again into the weekday and get charged, just the overnight price, which is interesting. All right, we're taking the exit here, exit 24. Going to go a little elevated here. This bridge here is actually a pedestrian bridge. I think it used to be a railroad bridge here. This is called the High Bridge. This is actually the tallest bridge in New York City. Not sure how high it is, I didn't do the research, but it is actually the highest bridge in New York City. Hey there, post-editing Dennis here. Sorry for interrupting the drive, but I made a big mistake here. The High Bridge is not actually the tallest bridge in New York City. That actually belongs to the Verrazano Narrows Bridge, carrying Interstate 278, connecting Brooklyn and Staten Island over the Narrows. However, the High Bridge is given a different recognition, being the oldest bridge in New York City, being built and completed in 1848. It only stands about 140 feet tall versus the Verrazano's 693 feet height. Sorry for the mistake. Hope you enjoy the rest of this video. Gotta go do this walk someday to see the views of the Harlem River. It's gonna be wonderful. And then the bridge after that is called the Alexander Hamilton Bridge, and then the bridge on past that is called the Washington Bridge. Yeah, that can get confusing. Not the George Washington Bridge, the Washington Bridge. All right, so we're gonna take the right exit for 95 South for the George Washington Bridge. The George Washington Bridge opened in 1931. Okay, let's take the upper level to get the good views. So go in the left lane, please. We're gonna go get the better views. The upper level is exclusively trucks, but you get better views. The upper level is the original section of the bridge. Here we are crossing under the apartments. That's what they call this section. It's kind of like these tunnels here, and they put a building complex on top of it. All right, the right lane is going to end soon, so we got to merge into the left lane or center lane. All right, and this is our last. We're entering New Jersey. There's no way to enter, stay in Manhattan, because you would do that. You want to go on the lower level to take the Henry Hudson Parkway exit. State Route 9A. All right, we're getting this famous bridge. It looks like it's congested already here in the Manhattan-bound side. So the George Washington Bridge connects here, the neighborhood of Washington Heights in Manhattan, with the city of Fort Lee. Here's a lovely view of this bridge. Built in and completed in 1931, the original section of the bridge contains 8 lanes of traffic, 4 in each direction on top. You see the speed limit here is 45 miles an hour, and it's a wonderful bridge. This is actually one of the longest suspension bridges in the world, actually, when it opened. And I think it was taken over by another bridge in 1937. I forgot what it was. I'm not sure if it was the Golden Gate Bridge. That's also a suspension bridge. Let's head into the right lane. And you know, it's pretty cool. You see that there's pedestrian walkways on north and south. I think the southbound is actually only the for pedestrians, and the right one could be for bikes, but I could be wrong. I'm not sure which one. I never walked on this bridge. The Port Authority actually did reconstruction. Let's go in the right lane. Yeah, to bypass this. Let's head into the right lane. It's exit only, but we are going to we're going to do that last minute merge until the solid line approaches, so we can still go. So let's keep going. This is the way New Yorkers bypass the traffic. All right, so the only 8 lanes of traffic on top was the original section. In the 1950s, there was a lot of cars traveling here and frequently traffic jams. Can you imagine that? So they actually built the lower level and finished it in 1962, containing 6 lanes on the bottom. So this is actually the only bridge with the most lanes of traffic, being I think it's 14 lanes of traffic, longest in the world. The daily traffic, I think, from the Port Authority, from 2019 data, I believe it is a total of 104 million vehicles traveled here annually. That is incredible. Incredible. All right, so this is a last minute exit to the Palisade Parkway. No trucks can come. I think that's why we have this merge here. Let's start heading, put the left signal on to go merge. All right, we're still heading on I-95. So we entered New Jersey already. This is the city of Fort Lee. You see here a lot of signs here. Locals know about this. No, it makes sense. Looks like they just closed lanes for a little bit, and then we're just going to be heading out into the New Jersey Turnpike extension. Okay, maybe you can go a little bit ahead. Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna be traveling here again someday, hopefully, God willingly, soon. Sometime in the year, we're gonna be taking the Palisade Parkway, and we're gonna have a fun time doing a drive there. But today, that's not where we're going. All right. So right now we're on I-95 southbound, even though we're heading west. Also, U.S. Route 1. US Route 9, and when we get into the New Jersey side, we're on US Route 46 as well, a major concurrency. I wonder what happened here. So yeah, it's 104 million people that traveled here, so it is a very busy bridge, and look at all the traffic you hear. This is reverse, rush hour, So being the Port Authority crossing, all tolls are collected only on the New York bound side or eastbound side when crossing the Hudson River. So, how expensive is this bridge? Well, off-peak hours, weekdays for peak hours being 6 a.m. To 10 a.m. on the weekdays, or as well as 3 to 8 p.m. Weekends is a little different. It is 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. Not sure why the time is a little different. I wonder what happened here. The cops just moved pretty fast and they did a truck stop. Hopefully nothing too serious happened here. We'll take a look. Okay, it's just slow here because a lot of trucks are here. Didn't expect the traffic jam here, but we did get the grid views. Yeah. Wonder what happened here. Looks like looks like it broke down, the UPS truck. All right. Now we are on New Jersey here. This is called the New Jersey Turnpike Extension. This is a free section of the road. We're going to be taking this road to Interstate 80. Yeah, the great Interstate 80 that connects from New York City metropolitan area in Teaneck, New Jersey, connects all the way to San Francisco. Yeah, that's 2,900 miles long. The second longest interstate highway underneath I-90, which goes from Boston, Massachusetts to Seattle, Washington. Yeah. Interstate 80 goes through a lot of cities, and I think that's probably one of my favorite interstates, probably behind I-95, because I-95 goes through a lot of cities, and that's my home interstate. So let's take the express lane, Paterson Express Roadway. So let's do that. Whoa, wow, the backup. Wow. Insane. Insane. All right. Okay, you can see here. The mile marker is 121, but why do we have exit numbers at like 70 or 71? Well, the reason for these exit numbers is because that these are actually miles-based exit, but it's not for the New Jersey Turnpike. And some people may say, oh, maybe it's Interstate 80, but no, it's actually meant for I-95, but I-95 was actually planned to have the Somerset Freeway built, which is a freeway to extend from probably around the Trenton area to the old I-95, where 295 is in New Jersey, near, I think, what is that called? Princeton, all the way to, I think it extends to near Somerset or Middlesex, with Interstate 287, the I forgot what it's called, the Middlesex Freeway, I think that's what it's called. Yeah, that, and it goes in a diagonal, so that's probably where you would get the 70 miles from here. So yeah, it's not because of I-80, it's actually a relic of the past of a canceled interstate highway. All right, so we're going to take the left exit. We can stay here, actually, 3/4 of a mile to Interstate 80. You can also take the New Jersey Turnpike here as well. So we're on the express lanes here. Speed limit, I think, here is about 65 miles an hour. And pretty good road. I love the wideness. Oh, it looks like the traffic jam ended here, so it's not that bad. Yeah, the New Jersey Turnpike, a lot of people say that it's one of the best roads, and I can see, you know, the configuration looks really good. I personally never been on the New Jersey Turnpike just because how expensive it is, and there are actually more interesting free routes that you can save a lot of money. It does cost your time, but I think the time is worth it to call it shunpiking it. So let's go into the center lane, because we're going to head towards I-80, towards Paterson. That's our first control city. Paterson is, I think, the third largest city in New Jersey, actually, behind Newark and Jersey City. So Paterson is number 3. Keep going here. We entered I-80. I-80 here is called the Christopher Columbus Highway, also known in planning documents called the Bergen-Passaic Expressway, up to that section. Here we can see Paterson's only 8 miles, and Stroudsburg, that's in Pennsylvania, is only 72 miles. Yeah, the New Jersey Turnpike is so interesting. I think that this I-80 section used to be HOV, but just because of the low demand volume in the 1990s, it was converted into an express lane. So this configuration is just awesome. Look at this. I-78, the Phillipsburg-Newark Expressway, also has an express and local setup. And these are always awesome to drive. This is just amazing. You know you're in like New York City area when you come from the west side, entering eastbound. When you see this, you know people are not playing around with their commutes. So I think the express lanes end for about 6 miles in Paterson. And then we'll be able to, you know, go into the traditional 3 or 4 lane in each direction freeway definition. So we got Hackensack here as exit 66 on the local lanes. And here's a view of, you know, I guess you can see Paterson probably in the distance. I think Paterson is north, probably on the diagonal right. Yeah, I see it on my window. Yeah. So the New Jersey Turnpike is actually pretty expensive. I don't know exactly the toll rates if you go all the way to the end into Wilmington, Delaware, but it is pretty expensive. So you could take free routes such as US 1. I think that's US 1 is always free. Always love the Pulaski Skyway is good as an alternative. And you could also take a connection with I-95 later in Philadelphia. Sometimes there's traffic over there, but traffic usually moves pretty well in that area. So, yeah, toll avoidance is not a crime. You know, toll evasion is a crime. So, always fun to do this. All right, soon we're going to be approaching the Route 17. Route 17 is actually a major route here in New Jersey, connecting with New York 17. You can go to Newark in the south, or you can go towards north towards Rochelle Park or Paramus, and head towards upstate New York with the thruway. All right, still got Paterson as our control city. I wonder why we're getting a little bump. So I think this truck may be carrying something. Yeah, so let's try to pass this. I wonder what it's carrying. Hopefully not something big. Okay, here we go. So keep moving. We still got some distance left of this expressway. All right, looks like the expressway portion is ending here. So, as a recap, I honestly don't know what's going to happen with congestion pricing. Right now, it's still fighting in the courts right now. But hopefully, you know, I think a lot of New Yorkers outside of Manhattan probably are against it, especially if they own cars. And the other problem I have with this is that there is no subway expansion in Queens, especially transit deserts, if you call it. Staten Island has the same issue too. You got to take that Staten Island ferry, and you only got the railway, and you only got express buses. So I feel sorry for Staten Island, but Queens really lost. They should prioritize, instead of Second Avenue expansion, to probably prioritize doing more studies on expanding the existing 7 line more into Long Island, or possibly the F train down towards more of the Hillside region. I forgot what it's called, maybe Springfield Gardens, along Hillside Avenue, or Queens Village, yeah. Or also extend the E train or the J and Z trains as well. They should have done that. I think that would make things a lot better, because there is no real good alternative, unfortunately, you know, to taking, you know, sometimes driving, you know, especially off hours, and the MTA constantly does construction, so it's not that frequent. So that's very unfortunate. I think the MTA should definitely prioritize the outer boroughs. You know, they should do that, because you gotta bring more people to want to come there. Don't force people to go into the subway. Another reason why people don't want to enter the subway is because of crime. New York City, unfortunately, has, or New York State, passed bail reform, which I believe is a terrible mistake. This was passed, I think, in 2019, which got into effect in 2020. That basically allows criminals to just get a slap on the wrist for doing misdemeanor crimes. And that's not good. I understand about, you know, the cost about bail and stuff like that. That could be hard for the criminal. But technically, you're not supposed to do any type of crime. Crime is a crime. Same thing if you talk about like Christianity, since I'm a Christian. Sin is sin. You're not going to be excused for any sin if you go to God and talk about, why are you excused for any of your sin for your wrongdoing? What are you going to say? You know, you technically have no excuse. you have to put some type of penalty on this to deter people from doing these crimes. I know people have the tendency to do sinful behavior, but this is just not right. That's why we get these ridiculous crimes of people shooting, stabbing, and people getting burned on the subway. It's horrible. This should not be allowed. You know, they got to do tough on crime. And I know the district attorney in Manhattan, this guy named Alvin Bragg, very controversial. He does not punish people. So if you're visiting Manhattan, be careful, okay? Because if you get hurt or damaged by anyone, I feel sorry for you if the guy gets let go, okay? This is why we get crazy behavior in Manhattan, the shoplifting and all the other stuff. Absolutely ridiculous. Makes no sense. All right, I-80 here, we see we already ended the express lane portion. We're gonna end and turn into Paterson right here. Get to see this cool looking bridge. I love this bridge, actually. Looks pretty nice. And here, because Paterson, we come here, we get the new control city of the Delaware Water Gap. That's the border of New Jersey and Pennsylvania. I'm gonna do another video on this, so stay tuned for that. It's gonna be great. I got some notes on it, so interesting history of it. And here we see a sign of the Christopher Columbus Highway. Yeah, this is wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, so the MTA should do better on their crimes, or the city specifically needs to do a lot better, because its safety is pretty important. And if someone goes through a traumatic experience, this means that the subways are just not safe. And I know that the crime statistics, they claim it's gone down, but people can manipulate data. I know studies. I'm a pharmacist. I know about drug studies. You got to assess the data. What are they assessing? Because the thing is that the way they measure crime is decreased or changed. Especially in 2021, the classification of crimes have changed. So typically some misdemeanors could get away as major crimes. Or another example being that maybe people just don't want to report crimes because the police have to take a lot more effort into it, and you know, the people have to go through a trial or a stand. Some people don't want to go through that, you know, all that work. So it's just unfortunate. I think New York is actually a good place to visit. It is a very expensive place, but just keep in mind of your protection and safety. Always be on alert. Anything can happen, all right? Anything can happen. So hopefully this congestion pricing in the courts get repealed. It's still fighting it. Hopefully they come to a decision by the fall, maybe by September or October. And, you know, if it's repealed, then, you know, maybe we'll be able to do things a lot better. The traffic hasn't improved. The MTA is just unsuccessful with their money. I don't want to trust them with it. With the money they have, they should do a lot better with their budgets, to be honest. And if they cut a lot of the soft costs, pretty sure the 2nd Avenue subway would not have a balloon cost of $7 billion. All right. So I hope you enjoyed this video here. I'm going to end it here. This is a wonderful drive of basically a New York commute, and we're, you know, avoiding congestion pricing. This is successful going into Western New Jersey. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you enjoy it, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more video trips or tours of certain places. We're going to be going somewhere later today, and it's going to be unique. I guarantee that. Hopefully you enjoy it. Thank you, and take care, everyone. Have a great day. Bye-bye.